Hey, it's Tim Paulson. I'm going to try this again. I am here asking a question. Is there anything in your life that looks like a failure presently? Anything in your life that looks like a mess? Well, in this episode, I'm going to call this episode number 2. In this episode, I'm going to introduce a piece of art that hopefully will inspire you as it has inspired me. So I'm back in my studio. I'm going to just show you this. Remember this. I showed you this last week. It is the Beatles sculpture. So I showed you this. There's George Harrison and Ringo Starr. There's Paul McCartney and John Lennon. And so, of course, I spoke last week about how this is illustrative of all of the cracks and the imperfections, the blemishes, make this a cooler piece of art, and our cracks, our blemishes make us cooler. So that's a review of last time. Now, this time I want to tell you a story. It was about, it's about me in 3rd grade. So I had a wonderful 3rd grade teacher. His name was Mr. Yoshida. And Mr. Yoshida one day said, Timmy Paulson's dad is coming to class, and he's going to do an art demonstration. It was actually in the library at the school. And I thought that was awesome because my dad was and is my hero. He played professional baseball. He was a great artist. So he came to school to do an art demonstration. So I thought, this is great because I'm going to be kind of the cool kid in school for a day. They're going to say, Timmy, that's your dad. He's cool. Well, Dad, it was awesome. I went into the library, and he was standing up front, and he was about ready to do this demonstration, and I was so proud. And halfway through the demonstration, I started to get nervous because the painting looked terrible. I thought, oh, no, my kids or my friends in this class, they're going to say, Timmy, your dad's not a good artist, and you're not so cool after all. Well, by the time my dad was done, it was a beautiful dark seascape. I remember it really, really well. And I was so proud, and for one day I was kind of a cool kid. But it was a really important message that something looked like a failure, though it ended up as a great success. Now I'm going to show you here. This is on my computer. I love abstract art. This is a piece of art. Again, it's a photograph of a piece of art that I did some time ago. And I was about to sign it, and then I thought, this is ugly. This is a failure. I started to wonder, what in the world is this darn thing? And so I looked at it, and I thought, okay, if it's a failure, it means that it's not yet done. There's a couple of great quotes. Rosabeth Cantor, she's a Harvard professor. She said, everything looks like a failure halfway through. And I don't know that everything does, but think about it. Raising kids, sometimes relationships, sometimes a business, whatever it might be, sometimes something looks like a failure halfway through. Well, guess what? You know what? It just means that we're not quite there yet. Dan Sullivan of the Strategic Coach, brilliant man, introduced to me by my good friend Joe Polish. Dan Sullivan said something like this in a meeting that I attended. It was, all successes look like a mess in the middle. So you think about that. A mess in the middle eventually becomes a success. I just finished a book by Phil Knight, Shoe Dog. He was a co-founder of Nike. And when I read that, oh my goodness, over and over and over again, they had failures. Over and over and over, it was a mess. It just meant that they weren't quite there yet. And now it's a huge success. So I want to show you again, painting here. And so that's what it looked like before. And it's okay if you laugh. It's okay if you agree that it doesn't look that good. But then I thought, what would Andy Warhol do? These are paintings Andy Warhol did of Marilyn Monroe. And I thought, what would Marilyn Monroe look like on top of the abstract painting that I did? So let me show you. Here it is. So I followed the example of Andy Warhol. I followed the example of my dad and others. And I said, you know what? Let's turn a failure into a success. I was only halfway done. It was a failure. I love this painting. Now you might say, gosh, Tim, you know, it has a lot of that abstract coming on underneath. Why don't you just paint over it and start fresh? I love the abstract. That makes this one of a kind. And so I called halfway principle. the halfway principle. So again, whatever your struggle is, whatever looks like a failure presently, it doesn't have to remain that way. It absolutely can become a success. So I'm going to show you, last week, there's a painting in this room, and gosh, I don't want to show it to you. Well, maybe I do want to show it to you. That's a $7 yard sale transformed into a $1 million painting. I priced it at $1 million. So if you like this video, if you like the art with a message, last week's, which was kind of perfect imperfection, our imperfections make us perfectly us. Today, the halfway principle. If you want to learn about the $7 yard sale painting that is now $1 million painting, you let me know, okay? So I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed sharing it with you. Remember, whatever it is, everything looks like a failure, or a lot of things look like a failure halfway through. Go out and make it a great day. Thanks. Talk to you later.